Hey, potential sponsor. Did you know that each episode of RecLess averages over 500 listens? That's 500 potential agencies that you could influence or reach. Over all of our social media and listening platforms, we have over 2,200 subscribers and followers. Not bad for this little passion project of ours from 3 professional work friends. This spot right here could be yours. Not only would you reach the Parks and Rec masses, but your contribution goes directly to supporting Parks and Rec professionals in our field through scholarships for professional development. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 6 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, 3 professional friends, if you know, from around the country, bringing you a surprise guest each episode. This project has made an impact, educates others, and continues to support a growing community. Thank you for being part of it. This is RecLess.
We got a Ronald Swanson.
I just changed you to host right as Jay was entering the waiting room, so I can't admit him anymore.
Okay, I'll admit him. Maybe we don't want him in.
I know. You just never know which version we're going to get.
That's right. We're going to find out. Better be happy, Jay. He hadn't been here in a while.
There we go. What's up, boys?
What's up?
What's going on?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Let me change this.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Really has.
It has.
So, Jay, you got to get out of here right at 2:30 or before 2:30?
I mean, I have a virtual meeting at 2:30, so as long as I can hop off and then hop on that one, I don't need any like prep time
Or travel
So-
time. Okay.
just 2:29.
2:29. All
We
right.
can do that.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to RecLess, everyone. We are in Season 6, Episode 105. My name is Tom Venniro.
Who'd
I
have
am
thought
your
it?
host today.
Who would
Well,
have thought?
I lost track of the episodes. I had to look at the invite because it's been a while. It's been a few minutes. But I am
I wouldn't
here.
have known.
Yes, as even off a break, still here with Shane Mize and Jay Tryon as we bring you our little project trying to enlighten you all on the world of parks and recreation. Jay and Shane, how are you doing? It's been a while.
It has. It actually feels like a long time, even though it's not a long time, but it feels that way.
It does. Yeah,
It
I'm
does.
good. It's good to see y'all.
It's
We
like I'm
shall be
talking to-
happy.
Yeah. We should. It feels like I'm talking to strangers.
So we're no longer good friends or good
No, you're just
work friends or anything. We're just strangers today.
Industry strangers.
industry strangers who talk every month or so now.
That's right. That's right.
That's
It's been
funny.
a busy 2026. It's a really great time of year, March Madness
Mm.
at the
Yes.
time of this episode. I have not been involved with brackets this year for the first time honestly, I couldn't tell you. And Shane, I know you do the family bracket challenge, but I want to say I read a little teaser of a post that maybe that was altered a little bit this year.
Yeah, so Hannah and I did it since we've been married. I would put our brackets up in a wall somewhere in our apartment, our house, and we'd do $100 for the winner. And as we've started having kids, we've added the kids to the mix, and it was so fun at 2 or 3 years old to say, Villanova or Duke, and just hear them say
Yeah.
whatever word sounded best to them. And so we've done it for over 20 years, the Mize Bracket Challenge. And Hannah was in East Texas last week. 3 of my 4 kids were in Maine. My oldest son just didn't have any time for dear old dad anymore, I guess. It was just me and Harry at the house, and Harry's not a great bracket. He's not great at a lot of things, but picking brackets as a little multi-poo is probably the worst he's at. So it's the first time we haven't done it in, I think, 24, 25 years. Crazy enough.
Wow.
And I've always enjoyed playing along with you guys and just
Yeah.
seeing who picks who and the prizes. Because I love college basketball and March Madness. So I was always intrigued by who picks what, just because sometimes there's no rhyme and reason.
Yep.
And a lot of times those are the people that win because they like the mascot or they like the colors or they like the name. So
The year George Mason went to the Final Four, they were like a 15 seed, and Hayden just thought the word George Mason was awesome. He said George Mason all the way through the bracket. He had to be one of the only people in the country,
yeah.
other than George Mason fans and alumni, that had them going that far. And so that was always fun. You let them pick their prize. If they beat mom, they got one prize. Beat mom and dad, they got two prizes. And it was just a little, it's something programmers do to just engage their family. And it was just a way of me connecting with the kids. And they never realized I was just tricking them into hanging out with dad, but I was unable to do that this year. Too just not cool anymore, guys. Y'all knew that.
I want to say that the YPN did a bracket. Our little group did one a year or two ago, and I don't believe that came down the pike this year. But Jay, are you in any, and who do you got winning?
So I did one. I usually do more than one. And I don't know whether it was just a crazy week last week and this week, but we usually have done one at work and we didn't do one this year. And then I usually have, like you said, YPN's done one before, or other friends of mine have done them. And I just think life has just gotten busier than ever right now. So, my heart, I want to say I want to pick based on who I want to win, which isn't always the best thing to do. I'm a big Duke fan. Be rooting tonight pretty hard. Can't wait for that game. Went to the ACC championship game to see Duke win it all. It was awesome. Really cool experience to see that game in person. But I don't know if they'll make it all the way with the health they're dealing with. They got some healthy challenges with two guys that haven't played. One's going to play tonight. He played last week for 13 minutes, but he's a starter. And, without two starters, it's tough to make it all the way. So hopefully they can come through. But Arizona looks unstoppable at this point, man. The way they've been winning and the way they've been actually just rolling through teams and not even in close games. And I think they scored 56 points last night at halftime, and it's just for them to do that in one half was kind of crazy. So would not surprise me if Arizona wins it all, but I'm hoping for Duke.
Is that who you have as your winner, Duke, in the
In
bracket?
the bracket, I picked Arizona,
Arizona, okay.
But I want Duke, obviously.
Sure.
But they just had a gauntlet of a bracket for them because they got to play St. John's, who won their tournament, and then they have to play either UConn or Michigan State, depending on who wins that game. So they had, even though they were the overall one seed, they had the toughest bracket, hands down, having to face, Patino and Izzo and Hurley, like three of the best coaches in college basketball are in that same bracket with Shire. So it's a tough run for them to get all the way, but who knows? You never know.
Is Cooper Flag eligible to return?
That would be nice. Actually, at this point, I would take Con Knipple over Cooper Flag, who is just like crushing it for the Hornets. He has set records as a rookie for three-pointers. He's just about to pass the all-time three-point record for the Charlotte Hornets. And the fact that he's doing that as a rookie is unbelievable. So I've been really enjoying watching him play here locally in Charlotte.
First of all, it's not a made-up name, Shane. That's real.
I've never heard that name before. Not once in my whole life.
What I don't recall, though, Jay, is where did he come out of?
So he is from Wisconsin.
Okay.
But he went to Duke. I mean, he
went to Duke. Okay.
But his family, his family's is wild. He's got three brothers that are all high school basketball players in Wisconsin, and they're going to be college athletes. They're going to go, one of them, at least one will go pro. But he's got two brothers that are on the same high school team that either won the state championship or went to the state championship. Then he's got another younger brother who's in like ninth grade that this family is just breeding college basketball studs.
Never been said about the Mize family.
No. Well, they were breeding college basketball bracket studs. Yes. But
and yes, Shane, his name is Con, Kon, Con Knipple.
Never heard of him.
You must be living under a rock because he is literally like all over the place.
It could be a bit.
What's the have you ever heard of Tig Notaro? Is that her name? Tigaro? She's a comedian, but she does a show where they bring celebrities on, and she is so out of the loop that she doesn't know who they are. And I feel like that's happening to me sometimes as well.
Yeah. No, now that sounds like you just made something up.
Yeah.
Tig. I might be making up the second name.
I'm probably the only. the only one of us three that follow basketball as closely as I do.
I follow NBA, but it once, the college piece is lost on me until they enter the draft.
Yeah.
So that was a tangent that I didn't expect to get that deep into. But Jay, thanks for dropping some knowledge on us. For our opener today, I was perusing the social medias, as they call them, over the last few days, and one Rec Network post popped up on my feed. Every once in a while, I see those, and it's the member question of the week. I really enjoyed it. I responded and provided a little bit of context from my perspective, and I love that question so much that I kind of want to ask it to you both, but I'm going to modify it a little bit. The actual question that they posed was, what's one moment in your career that reminded you why you got into Parks and Recreation? I love the question. However, for me, it's a lot deeper than why I got into it, because the why I got into it, I kind of fell into it. I didn't have education in recreation and leisure studies. So it's not like it was ingrained into my brain to say, oh, Parks and Recreation, we make these amazing impacts for so many different people in so many different ways. I had to learn that over time. It started off as a really fun job, something that I was able to take my passions and bring them to work every day and share those with other individuals. And then obviously over time it became so much more. So what I really want to ask you is, what's something in your recent day to day that reminded you of why you love this career, this profession so much? And I will start with that since I've had some time to think about it. And a recent situation that actually happened last week, we had a couple of our aging adults, our seniors, that are 90 plus years old. They are two individuals that I met when I first started here. They were a part of the senior center, which was small, and it's grown and it's become so much more robust in the last 12 years. And great people. They came into the office. It was a little odd. They were kind of beelining it towards me, which doesn't really happen. So I went out and talked to him. I said, "How's it going, Jack? How's it going, Joanne?" And Jack's response was, "Not good." I go, "I'm sorry. What's going on?" And he broke the news to me and several other individuals in the office that their daughter, of 57 years old, was in a tragic and sudden car accident and had passed. And I talked through the situation. I tried to offer comfort, and it was tough. It was very somber. Joanne was breaking down. Jack was holding it together. The reason they were in the office was because they had a tax preparation appointment scheduled for when they had to go back home to Arkansas to put their daughter to rest. So on the forefront of their mind and everything that they're dealing with, they had to get their taxes done, and they weren't going to be in town when their original appointment was scheduled. So, I reassured them. I said, "We're going to take care of you. We're full. We have a waiting list. We've had waiting lists for this service for a month and a half, but we're going to take care of them." And fast forward to the next day. Sherry Farrell, an amazing individual in our office, is our senior coordinator. She has built relationships with these people that you and I probably don't get the opportunity to cultivate on a regular basis because she's with them all the time. I told her the story and the update the day before so that she can handle and take care of everything for them. They came in. She saw them come in. She walked around the partition area that separates our patrons from our team member area. Didn't say a word. It was the perfect amount of silence that she gave those individuals, about 2 feet away from them. After about 5-10 seconds, she put her hand on Jack's shoulder and then embraced Joanne. And Joanne just broke down. That moment showed me that we are so much more for these individuals than a place to come and eat, even though we want to feed them. That's what we're doing. We're providing nutritious meals and socialization. But what I saw in that moment is that we're their family. And Sherry is an extension of that family. They're living here, but their family is spread out across the country. They don't have those individuals here. They don't have that support system. And they come to us for that. So that was the moment that I wanted to share.
And kind of a follow-up for that, actually, the very next day, this wasn't a part of it, but we surprised Sherry with a Genesee Valley Recreation and Parks Society award nomination for outstanding service. She won. We got her whole family there, and it was a surprise. She had no idea. Her husband, her daughter, her grandchild, her son, they all came out when she was announced. It was a perfect setup. They missed each other in the lobby by about 5 seconds. I
Mhm.
actually had them hiding in the lobby in the foyer when I walked in and I was on the phone with Sherry. And I had the opportunity to share that story to the individuals in the room as I was presenting that award to Sherry. She's done this for 25 years. She's been a part of this community for 25 years. So again, the situation itself with the patrons was one of those moments that just hit you. This is why we're here. And then to be able to celebrate a team member, an individual who makes those moments, who makes those memories, who creates the relationships and the families. We've talked about that with Jonathan Skinner and how important that is to celebrate that. And yeah, I couldn't have been prouder of my team and Sherry in that moment. As sad as it is for what we're able to provide for individuals in terms of support when they need it most.
Well, that one will be tough to follow, Jay.
That's deep.
Yeah. I'll go quickly. I know we're on a bit of a time crunch. When I was growing up as a kid, I always remembered watching athletes from Burleson make it. Like you'd see them in college and it'd say their hometown Burleson. And I thought that's what making it would look like, like having an impact, making someone proud of where they're at, where they're from. They see representation. I think that's why I first thought athletics was what I wanted to do. And I was wanting to coach and have an impact in that way. And then obviously I transitioned into recreation and I've still felt that strong desire for people to be proud of the place they're from. And I had a connection of wanting to be a part of that. And not nearly as deep as Tom's, but the Trail Capital of Texas campaign, and that's something that was pretty unique and came up just from my head and just kind of doing wonder, which I love to do, and trying to figure out a way to make um, kind of give us a designation no one else had, and ultimately the process we went through to make it happen. But it's funny, just last week at a council meeting, our development corporation director was talking, and he had development corporation directors from a couple other cities in Texas had come to like an in-house training, and two of them were frustrated with the Trail Capital of Texas, and they were like, "No, no, hold on, how many miles of trails?" And he said one of them has gone back and forth a couple different times and have sent him updates to how many trails they have. And he at one point said, "Well, you're going to have to get with the governor because this is a 10-year designation." And Kate Meacham, who's reached out to me a couple times, has admitted that it drives her insane that I got that I'd thought of it, that she wishes that's something she'd have done for Alan. And there's so much pride for council and residents when you hear them talking about it, that Pflugerville isn't just this town that's really tough to pronounce. Now it's known for something in some capacity, and it's something that people actually, to be known as the water tower capital of Texas or something, so the pie capital or something, but not really connect with that in some way may have you feeling one certain way. But most of our people, 92% of our population, live within a half mile of a trail. A lot of them are trail walkers. We have 70 miles of trails in our community. Trails are one of the most beloved things in park systems in general, and ours in particular. And so there's just this double or triple layer of connection that I feel like people have with that moniker, and that we were able to grab it. And so it's been a point of pride seeing other people talk about it, seeing other people get jealous of it, seeing elected officials and others, kind of pound their chest and know that that's something that for the next 9 or 10 years, 9 more years, I guess, until we have to reapply for it, that's Pflugerville's, and that so many people have taken pride in something that's all I ever wanted to do. I just want to have an impact. Wherever I was, I've been wanting to have an impact, to serve people, to have an impact. And so, if that's all that happens in my time in Pflugerville, I would have called that a success in some ways already. So it's been cool to see.
Well, Tom, I'll start by saying I like the question and how you pivoted, because I think if I were to talk about like how I got into it or why I got into it, it's going to be very different, obviously. And a lot of people, I would assume, would have something to do with a program or with a camp or with athletics, because there's like a lot of tie-ins there. And I think we don't talk a lot about or talk enough about the non-traditional things that we are involved in. And here in Concord, we have a public art commission, and we actually run an art center. And I've gotten really involved in that side of things because I oversee part of that division, and I'm learning a lot about the arts world and ceramics because we run a clay center, a ceramic center, and obviously do a lot of pottery over there. But I went and visited some facilities this week in Raleigh on Monday, got to tour with their staff, kind of learn about what they're doing and what programs have worked really well over there. And then we're spearheading a renovation to one of our facilities here in the art center. And the more I'm starting to recently get connected with our residents that use that facility, the passion and the love they have for that facility and that area of recreation that wasn't always addressed or even thought of is really an eye-opening, passion that I've starting to see come through in my brain a little bit, just because, everyone thinks about, well, athletics is easy to point to when it comes to park and rec. And, I learned how to shoot a basketball at a local rec center. I learned how to do this at a park and play baseball or kick a soccer ball. And my parents were there to watch me do that the first time. Well, not everyone's had a chance to, get on a wheel and do some ceramics. And being able to hear firsthand those stories of folks that have come to our facility that have always dreamt of wanting to do that and wanted to do it at home but don't have the equipment to do it, and then we've made it available to them, is really impactful and kind of pushes you to want to do more for an underserved area of recreation. But to take it a little bit further, we implemented a new mural in one of our parks last year through our public art commission. And I was at a public art meeting last week, and one of the members of our commission was telling a story. They went to the park last week and saw a family get out of the car, and the kids automatically ran to the new mural that's there. And the mural has animals, and there's bees, and there's a bird in the tree, and there's a rabbit in it. And each child was like pointing to their favorite animal in the mural, and it just drew them to it. They ran to it with so much excitement. And it was this eye-opening experience for the PAC member, for our public art commission member, of like, this is why we do this. This is why I want to be on this committee, to provide opportunities for folks that may not ever see a mural up close or be able to pinpoint, hey, I want to be able to do that when I'm older. I want to be involved in arts in some capacity. And the joy that this mural brought this family was really neat to hear from their eyes, because they're an artist and they want to continue to push art in our community. And we're able to do that through these murals at the parks. So just kind of looking at things through a non-traditional eye, that I've not been involved with arts outside of this position. So I've learned a lot about it.
Yeah, that's really great. And I can't relate to, I could agree with you that non-traditional spaces, we don't really look there, but there's a hunger for that.
Yeah.
And not that this is the same, but if you go to a doctor's office or whatever, and they have something that's special for kids, the enjoyment that they have for that, as opposed to a blank wall, or, that mural doesn't need to be there, but it's there, and it provides so much more than pretty picture, pretty art.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you both sharing and in enlightening our guests. I'm sorry, our guests also, but our listeners with your responses. So with that, we did have a little bit of a lengthy start. So let's get to our guest. We have a Ron Swanson with us today.
Not our first Ron Swanson.
There may have
Right.
been, there's multiple Ron Swansons.
Yep.
And
It's like Santa.
yes, like Santa, because of the fact that there may have been more than one, Jay probably actually knows who Ron Swanson is this
I
time.
do.
Finally.
Well, we also had the story about the conference that we were trying to get him. So
That's true. That's true. That's
yes.
true.
So I know that person.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about it. So our guest, first of all, we didn't talk about this before because I know this isn't maybe Shane's cup of tea, but opening days of baseball just came and went the last few days. Real exciting time for me. I'm a huge baseball fan. I love this week. It's just, yeah, it's awesome. So with that, our guest today is an avid Yankees fan.
Well,
Our
that
guest-
didn't limit where they're at. They could be anywhere in the country.
They could
really.
be. Exactly. Our guest is also a very regular golfer, and they try to get out 2 to 4 times per week as weather allows. Our guest
That's a lot of golf.
it is a lot of golf. Our
Dang.
guest has created
18
multiple new
holes is a lot of golf.
programs. Yeah, it is. We sometimes at these tournaments think 13, 14 is the sweet spot. You get a little
Perfect.
farther than that, and
Yeah.
it starts to drag. But if you love it enough, you're talking, my gosh, what are we talking? 36 to 72 holes of golf a week for our guest. That's a lot.
Incredible.
So our guest has created multiple new programs and special events for the organization that they served. They have created a mentorship program in their state, also co-created a young professional network in their state.
Well, look at
Very,
that.
they are very active in their state association, as you could imagine from the last two clues. Currently serving as the co-chair of their conference committee and also the co-chair for the state young professional network that delivers quarterly meetings to its members.
Okay.
Our guests completed their undergraduate with a bachelor's degree in business in 2018 from Central Connecticut State. Now do you know that mascot, Shane?
No, don't have a clue. I didn't know there was a Central Connecticut state. Is it
Well,
big enough to have that
you
many?
don't have to insult every guest. Okay, Shane. So
The
now,
Eagles.
Jay, you actually talked about the mascot of this school earlier. You're a big fan. In a
Blue
different
Devils?
school. They are the Blue Devils.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay. They received a
I
master's.
still get credit for that?
No.
Jay couldn't
say
even get it.
it's borderline. They received their master's in recreation and leisure from Southern Connecticut in 2022. They currently hold a position of recreation supervisor overseeing aquatics, receiving a promotion just a year ago. They recently received the R. Peter Ledger Young Professional Award in the state of Connecticut and received one of the first 30 under 30 recognitions in 2021.
I know who it is.
Our guest today,
Geordie.
please welcome Recreation Supervisor, Town of Glastonbury, Connecticut, Geordie Emmanuel.
What's
Hello,
up?
how are ya?
Hey,
What's
Geordie.
going on, man?
Nice to see you guys again. It's been a couple of months, and I do have to just say that it's usually not 72 holes of golf a week. It's usually just 9 instead of 18. So,
Okay.
Smart.
36.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
if you
still a
go out
lot.
2 to 4 times, but you're only playing 9 at a time,
yeah,
that is definitely manageable.
yeah.
It is. The time commitment alone on 18 is, yeah, that's 4 to 5 hours. It's a lot. So, all right. I could get behind that.
I don't know.
9
I've never
holes
gotten
each
to
time.
9 holes and been like, man, I hope there's another 9 of these somewhere.
Well, can
Well,
you imagine 9 holes too without a cart and you're walking?
No,
I'm usually walking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some people love to walk. I would prefer to walk.
I wouldn't walk in putt-putt if I had a choice. I'd cart around putt-putt.
oh gosh. Maybe they could make one of your electronic skateboards that's suitable for a golf course.
There we go. There we go.
All right, let's get into it. Geordie, thanks for spending some time with us today. We're excited to have you here. What I did not share in the intro is that Geordie and I go way back. We were paired together in one of the Academy mentorship programs several years ago. So I've known Geordie for a while. We've had a lot of great conversations, and I'm excited to have him with us. I want to start today by posing a similar question to Geordie. Now, Geordie clearly is a little fresher in his career than the three of us.
Be
And
careful. You don't know that.
so, Geordie, I just want to know your story. You know, you've done a lot. You've given a lot back to the profession. I want to say that myself, Shane, and Jay can really relate to your career path in terms of at least the professional development piece of giving back and being so active as a young professional, using your voice and really guiding some of the narrative for those individuals in the professional association. What is it about this profession? How did you get into it? And where do you find the passion? What's a recent story that you can share with us of why it is that you love what you do so much?
Yeah, so I kind of fell into the profession, kind of how you were talking about, Tom. I think I took a little bit of a non-traditional approach when I fell into the profession because I didn't really grow up a Parks and Rec kid. I played Little League. I didn't really attend summer camps or after school programs or things like that. Some special events we went to. But I didn't have that part growing up, going to Park and Rec programs and things like that. It was when I turned 15 and I started working for the Park and Rec department in my hometown, started working with teenagers. I started as a camp counselor, and I was just seeing all of the good that comes out of Parks and Rec. But still, even when I went to school, I didn't really think about like this is the career that I want to do. When I started my undergraduate program, I was all over the place. I loved working with kids, so like I want to go into education. Maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to do that. Ultimately, falling into business management. So once I left, I was part-time in Rocky Hill at the time, left Rocky Hill to come to Glastonbury, in a part-time role working at the teen center, and then also working at Teen Adventure Camp, and then also at a program that is called Friday Night Club, which there was created years and years ago, but it's a space for kids and adults that have special needs. It's twice a month. They go on field trips. We host events here in our building. It was a much different atmosphere than when I was just a camp counselor. And I'll never forget having a conversation with now my colleague, but former boss, Anna Park. And, I was one day like, what do you do? What is your job? And it was my last semester of college. And she talked to me, about what she does on a full-time basis. And I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. I started applying for jobs and ultimately got one about 9 months later. And ever since I started in this profession, I didn't really have any second guesses. And, this profession, as you guys know, we're not making $1 million a year. So it's really not.
You're not?
I
That's
wish I was.
crazy. That's
I wish I
crazy.
was. I'd be doing something right. But there's a lot more than just the money aspect. It really, like, I leave here every day feeling like I've contributed something to my community in Glastonbury. I have a very deep passion for this community because I was hired here part-time 9 years ago now at this point, and just what working in a part-time role here has given me and my prior experience in Rocky Hill. It's also funny too because the director of Glastonbury now, Lisa, she was the director in Rocky Hill while I was there, and then she had moved over to Glastonbury after I had started and became the Park and Rec director here. And then when there was an opening in 2021, I wanted to come closer to home and was able to join the department full time. And it's just been nothing but incredible. The team here is absolutely incredible. But yeah, I think I took a more non-traditional approach into the field. I asked when I'm doing interviews, and I feel like I've done 300 seasonal interviews in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But a question that I like to ask is, why do you want to work for Glastonbury Parks and Recreation? I think that's where you're going to get I'm just doing this because my mom told me to. Or
Yeah.
you're going to get oh, I went to this camp as a kid and I want to give back to what was given to me when I was in this camp. And that's where I think you really get the best out of employees when they feel connected to their position, they're connected to their department. So hearing those conversations and being part of those conversations over the last couple of weeks has really been enlightening. And hearing the question, that's the first thing that I went to. I was like, I think we all have a different way to get into this field. Mine was a little bit more non-traditional, but I love hearing other stories from kids about why they want to work in Parks and Rec. I think is really important.
Well, and hopefully those individuals that are answering that question for the right reason can see that there could be long-term opportunities. Because I think, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like when Shane and Tom and I started, or a little bit longer ago than that, like even if you were doing that part-time seasonally, like I don't know that we necessarily saw that as a full-time career path or knew of those opportunities. And there's been such a push for that now for us to make sure that's aware to everybody that there are long-term opportunities. It is not just a summer job. If you want to pursue that, there's a ton of opportunities. So, if you get that opportunity to share that this is not just a summer job, then that's our job to do that too. And hopefully people see that, especially if you have people that come back every summer and that are returners because they know that impact and they know the difference it makes.
You mentioned something. We talk all the time about what we get to do, the programs, the service, the impact. Tom's question led to it today in a lot of ways. Hannah's podcast, which has been on during our sabbatical, which has been great, and we've been talking about it. And it's had a different type of impact, right? It's had people reaching out to us and saying nice things about what Hannah's doing and the impact it had. But in that conversation space, they talk about more what we don't talk about a lot. But I'd love to hear it here, Geordie, in some ways, which is the sacrifice that we all make to be able to do the programs and services we do. And what did you have to sacrifice to be the person we're talking to today? You talk about money. Is it finding a more ambitious path, which would have provided more financial stability, or being closer to or from family, or maybe potentially better hours, and that would have impacted blank, your hobbies or partners or whatever, like I think all, and we don't talk about it enough, but I think all of us sacrifice something to be the people we're all talking to today, to be the people we're showing up for our communities for. And I think it's good to talk about the good. I think it's also I think these are safe spaces to talk about, the sacrifices as well. What have you had to sacrifice to be the person we're talking to today?
Well, I think for my first job, I was traveling to Massachusetts from Connecticut on a daily basis. I live in central Connecticut, so it was about a 45 to
Is
an
there
hour.
really a central connect? Listen, I saw an overlay of DFW map, Dallas Fort Worth map, and the whole damn state of Connecticut, and it's the same same space. Is there a central connect? You're basically the size of 3 Texas cities. I just want to point that out. Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington.
We are a tiny state for sure.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Just
if
making sure.
and I think I also will still get surprised by this fact, but from driving from one corner of the state to the other, it's about an hour and a half or so, an hour and
Unbelievable.
45 minutes.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Which I know, like Texas, for example, it'll take way longer than that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean the commute for sure. When I was first trying to get into the field, I was applying everywhere. I was applying in Rhode Island, I was applying in Massachusetts, I was applying in Connecticut. I didn't really care where I had to go. I just wanted to go somewhere. And that's not to say that I was just going to settle on anything, but that was definitely something that kind of was like, all right, I'm not going to think about the commute piece of it, which I think now I'm a little bit more conservative if, when I was looking for other jobs, like, okay, how far away is this from home? So now it's only 10, 15 minutes. So it's
Is it in North Central Connecticut or South Central? No, I'm just kidding.
right around the Hartford area. When I was in Massachusetts, it was definitely the commute. I think both jobs, my current job and my former job up there, um, being on call all the time when
Yeah.
problems are occurring. I always tell my staff, I have great leadership staff that handle a lot of the problems that come up at the last minute in terms of aquatics, and in that aspect, I'm very lucky. But when those situations do arise, especially in the summertime, we're open 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. It's all day. And a question or an emergency could come at any point. So I think taking that into consideration a little bit for sure is, you kind of have that feeling of, I got to be by my phone in case something happens. And I think that's a very common a common one in our profession that not many people really think about, especially when I'm with friends over the weekend and I have to step
Sure.
away because there's an issue that's coming, that's happening at work and oh, just can't you just turn your cell phone off? Like, not really. Not
Right.
really. I think that's definitely one of the biggest sacrifices. I tell my staff, and like I said, I'm very happy that they are able to manage a lot of it without needing me. But I tell them all the time, if there's something and you need me, I'm there. So I think those two things are what pops into my head in terms of specific sacrifices,
It's
especially when you're out with friends, hanging out with friends, and you get pulled away.
it's funny because it's a sacrifice. I think we're ill-equipped also to talk about it. Like we are in this industry so service oriented that it doesn't feel like a sacrifice for us, which is why the conversations with the spouses and partners have been so interesting because it's hugely impactful to them and they don't understand why we do it and how we do it. And you look at Jay, for example, you go to a bunch of council meetings a week and that's tough on you, but it's only tough on you because of the impact it has to your kid. You'd go to those council meetings all day. You would listen to you are enthusiastically interested in what is happening at a council meeting. That's the tough part that, because we can't quantify what sacrifice means. It's tough because
Yeah.
there's a cost, but it doesn't feel like a sacrifice to us, right? It doesn't feel like a sacrifice to answer your phone, Geordie, when you're hanging out with friends because you want to be the
Right.
person that solves the aquatics problem or takes that helps your employee out when they're calling they're needing something. So we're almost ill-equipped in some ways to talk about sacrifice or cost because it is what the public views it as, and we don't ever really think of it that way in a lot of ways.
And you're right. I mean, I don't necessarily consider it a huge sacrifice because
Right.
usually most 99% of the
But your
time,
friends would think it's crazy. If
right.
if Lehman Brothers called them on a Friday or Saturday, they'd be like, "What is going? This is nuts!" Or whoever they work for, the bank, or is there Lehman Brothers? I don't know. Some financial institution or a bank, or whatever they do. The tree logging company they manage sales for, or whatever. They don't get those types of phone calls, and so people look at us in government and then public service in general, I think, because there's a stigma to being a government employee. There's a stigma of being an employee that's really outward facing in the public service industry as well, state, local, national, whatever it is. So, they sometimes people just don't get it.
I also think over time, I think it's interesting that you say that's their sacrifice because it is a sacrifice, but I think over time it just becomes second nature and you don't even think about it.
Right.
And I'll give an example. Last Friday, so every Friday there's a brewery down the street from my house that does Food Truck Friday and it's live music and there's a bunch of food trucks. The parking lot's closed down, so there's no cars, so the kids are all running around playing. And my phone rang. It was like 6:30 and it was my ACM. And like I'm kind of running out of the parking lot just so it's quieter and like but it's not it's not a big deal because I'm so used to that, but I'm sure like it's still to others like why is someone calling you at 6:30 on a Friday? And it was a quick call. It only lasted 3 minutes. um but I think maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago I might get annoyed with it, but now I'm just like, it's just a typical Friday, not a big deal.
When Hannah plans a vacation 6 months from now, I don't think anyone thinks of they just say, yeah, we'll take off those dates. Those dates work for my family, but I have to look at what council meetings are potentially up. And I don't
Yeah.
even know what council agenda is going to happen. But if there's a council meeting that time, I have to make sure that I'm leaving the Wednesday after the council meeting and trying to get back the Tuesday before or whatever. And Hannah's like, we can't just take the middle of the week. And it's like, no, I don't know what's going to be up, and I don't know what I'll be needing or requesting. And so you try to find the non-council weeks, but then you got a Parks Board Commission week or you got a different bond council or whatever. And so the things that we don't consider a sacrifice, I think objectively a lot of people would.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. During Tom's intro, he mentioned several accolades that you received over the last year. What is a goal of yours coming forward for the next
Jay wants
six
to know
months,
how you
next
win
year?
awards.
No, I want to know what do you have on, your goal next? Like, and it may be a different position, it may be a certification, it may be I want to get on this committee. Like, what are you striving for in the next 6 months or a year?
This year I started as co-chair for our conference committee, um, which which was a goal of mine. If you asked me this a year ago, that's probably the answer I would have said. At this point, I think joining our state's board of directors would be my next goal. I went for it back in no October time is when voting started last year. Unfortunately, didn't make it on, but two incredible professionals in Connecticut got on, which I was really happy about. And there were some incredible professionals that were on that ballot. I think there was 6 of us for 2 open seats.
Hmm.
So it was incredibly competitive process, and there were 5 that were incredibly dedicated, have put in a lot of time into our state association and our profession. In terms of that, I think the board of directors would be the next goal.
Tom talked a lot about all the accolades that you have won, and Jay was obviously quite jealous of them. But what he didn't mention, probably the most esteemed, is that you were a RecLess scholarship winner this last cycle. We were very fortunate to be able to do that because we get sponsorship dollars and we try to pour that back into the thing. But what we're looking for is your profile, which is someone who is going to conference at their own expense. Now, I live a privileged life in the sense that I've always been in the state of Texas, which and Tom and Jay have both talked about. We go to some of these states and they don't have a huge group of people that go to NRPA. You don't see a bunch of people from Mass go to NRPA. They might all go to Mass, or whatever. And we've talked about the same thing with some of these smaller states. And so your profile hit us really well because you're one of these folks that you go to NRPA every year, whether you get any money in any capacity or not. What value do you find from it that you're just like, no, that's an automatic. I'm going to it. Hopefully someone will take care of me. I'll apply for grants or scholarships or I'll ask my city. But if not, that doesn't prevent me from going. I am going to NRPA. What type of value do you get from that? And that you're talking about sacrifices that, we've all been a rec coordinator, a boots on the ground type, middle management, early management in our career. You don't make a lot of money, you're not a millionaire yet, which is crazy. And so how are you also sacrificing financially to make sure, it's obviously a sacrifice financially and some time, and you may even have to use vacation or something if the city's not supportive, but you go every year. What do you get out of that?
It's incredibly valuable. And again, thank you for awarding me with that scholarship back in September. It was really, really awesome to get that. So thank you.
Put it on your resume.
Yes, absolutely. I had a conversation a few years ago with Molly Keys. She's about 30 minutes away from where I am.
Other side of the state. Just
Northern
kidding.
part of the state.
That was a Connecticut joke.
So she was talking to me about how incredible nationals is. At this point, I've never been to a national conference. It had just gotten put into our budget. I believe this was back in 2023 when we went to Dallas. And at that point, I wasn't really as connected with a lot of people on a national level like I am now. And I think that's where it sparked, was that first trip to Dallas. And I remember that, I believe that was the year, Tom, that you and I started connecting through that mentorship program, which was incredibly valuable because I remember talking to you about the national conference and what value that you get out of it as well. But hearing, different perspectives on the national conference, and our town had two people that they were able to send to the national conference. And, in my head, I was like, I would love to be a part of this because now I have 2 people that I know. So it wouldn't really feel like I'm just walking aimlessly around not knowing anybody. I went. I was super thankful that my boss been incredibly supportive of my goals and wanting to grow in the profession on a state and national level. I said, I'm not looking for town money because I know that that's already covered, but I'll pay my own way. And it's not a cheap expense. It's
Especially
expensive.
when it's from Connecticut to Dallas. Like if you could drive to Philly or something, maybe, but now you got to fly and
Right.
hotels and everything. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah. So I think that's where it really kickstarted my connections with, you guys. And it's really given me a lot. Atlanta, back in 2024, I was able to go on the town's dime. This year in Philadelphia will be the town will support me. But Dallas and Orlando, I had to fund my own, which after the first time, I would tell my friends like, I'm going to Dallas or I'm going to Orlando, and no, what are you going for? A conference, and they're like, oh, so, it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm like, it really is. It's a great time. It's one week that I really look forward to every year. They're like, really? It's that much fun? Like, it's a great time to be able to see people and just getting different perspectives from people from around the country. New England is set up very differently than, Texas, and New York is a little bit structured a little bit similarly to Connecticut, even North Carolina. A lot of county-based governments down there that's almost non-existent up here. Hearing about those experiences is really valuable to me, and to see what else is out there in the Parks and Rec world. Getting that different side of it is something that I've taken away. On top of the connections, it's been truly an invaluable experience over the last 4 years that I've been going.
Yeah, I remember our conversations when we were approaching the Dallas conference. And I remember you telling me you were going to go and you were paying your own way. And there's a lot of individuals that we know that have done that and have gone that route. And it's very admirable. It's commendable that that's something that you're willing to invest in yourself. I remember the first night we met up, and it was LSI, Landscape Structures Inc. They had this customer appreciation event. There was some kind of a trap door, and you went into a room, and we were all there. And I remember, Geordie, you walking in and the excitement on your face and in the conversation that we had to be there and to be experiencing it. And honestly, that's how I felt the first time that I went to a conference too. It's not a feeling like anything that you'll experience. And no offense to state conferences, because state conferences are great. There's a different feel there too. It's just different. And it's really the only way I could say it. You have to try to experience it if you have any inkling or interest in continuing professional development and networking. Get to an NRPA conference. With the NRPA conference and your experiences, something that I want to maybe segue into, and I've told my story before, so I won't tell it again, but the first couple
Thank
conferences,
goodness.
yes, the first couple NRPA, Shane's full of it today, just full of it. We've got he's in rare form. I want to
Missed
say
you,
that he's
boys.
always like this, but yeah, he really does. He misses us. So the story that I've shared before is that my first conference experience in Baltimore, I brought a lot back to my community. The next conference experience I had is when I met Shane Mize.
Best
And
thing
I
ever
brought a
happened to
lot
him.
back to my community. Yep, every time we talk about that, I hear best thing that's ever happened to me. I brought a lot back to my community that time. I brought a lot back to our state association, and then in turn, a year or so later, gave back to NRPA from what I was getting from them. So it didn't take me long to say, NRPA has given me a lot. I want to give back to them. So can you share anything that you've in those 4 experiences at NRPA conference that you've either brought back to your community or your state that you really wouldn't have had the opportunity or knowledge to do so if you did not attend an NRPA conference?
I was able to take something back in both aspects, taking back new program ideas for the community. I'm taking back how I can tweak an administrative procedure that I'm doing, talking about how other people in the aquatics world are handling certain things. Or there's definitely a lot that I'm able to bring back to my job for sure, and to share with everybody in the department. Some things that we have done differently since those points. And then also on the national level too, being involved with our conference committee over the last 4 years, being able to recommend speakers that I've seen at national conferences, some topics that really hit home with me. Connecticut is, like Shane said, a very small state. So there's not a ton of people that are going to the national conference that might change this year because it's in Philadelphia, which is a lot closer to Connecticut. But being able to bring back names, session topics to these conference committee meetings has been great. So I think in terms of the community and our state association, every time that I'm at a national conference, there's always stuff that a whole repertoire of stuff that I'm able to bring back. I'm constantly writing notes. I'm taking screenshots of sessions, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing it right. And I love what you had mentioned about what you can bring back to your state association if you're so inclined to do so and serve on a conference committee or whatever that is. And I see you doing it, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention what our experience was like in Wisconsin. And I think you're seeing that more often now is that the right people are putting themselves in position to go to an NRPA conference. I look at you, Geordie, I look at Trista. Trista wasn't going to national conferences prior to a few years ago. And she did, and you did, and look what your next conference is going to look like. What Wisconsin did with their conference that we were able to just attend is really nothing short of a micro NRPA conference, which is great. It's all what she took back and had that experience at NRPA and brought it to her membership. And I see you doing the same thing. Now, guys, a real quick side note before someone jumps in for the next question. I saw something else pop up on my social media feed, and it feels like we're kind of like the warm-up group at these conferences. Did you see who happened to be in Massachusetts for their conference this year?
Well, Jeff.
What, Nile?
Nile, yeah.
Yeah.
So they took us and they said, man, these guys did not cut it. We need to take it to the next level.
Yeah, Jeff was there too, Jeff and Nile. So they got the A team
they
this
upgraded.
year.
They upgraded in every aspect.
For sure.
Definitely upgraded on the Pflugerville showing.
For sure. I was been talking very slowly because it's through text stream to a friend of the pod and a friend of Geordie's, someone that thinks very highly of him, Katie Mack. She reached out to me. She's just now getting to our wrap up episode, and in the second, the part B of that, we talk about in some ways. There was a question, and we talked about the trauma that comes with leadership and having some grace for people, because people think leadership's one thing, and then you get to be the leader and you find out it's quite different, and we've talked about that here, where I'm going to come in here and be the director and square every circle, and I'm going to do all these different things, and no one's going to, I'm not going to let anyone do the things that I've over the years watched other people do. And then you get up there and you're like, oh no, I'm absolutely going to have to allow those same things to happen. As you've progressed in your role, leadership is something that comes with that. And we've talked about it some, we don't talk about it enough. There is trauma. There is rubbing up against some hard edges and learning from those mistakes and figuring out what you can and can't do. And boy, I shouldn't have come, with the hammer in that situation. Maybe I should have came more with, a sweeter side or a softer side. What has your growth in leadership look like over your career?
I've definitely had every experience and every conflict that's come up, I always evaluate it afterwards. Like what did I do and what could I have done better and what can I do next time differently? I think that really solid mentorship has helped me become the leader that I am today. I've had some incredible mentors in my life, and especially since starting out in this field. My current boss, Lisa, she's been an absolutely incredible mentor to me, an awesome sounding board for whenever I have problems, talking through those, talking to my other coworkers that have been in this profession 20, 25 years, how they would handle something. So I think looking back, some of the decisions that I was making in my first job when I was freshly in the field, I cringe at about how I handled some of the things that I did, because I'm like, there are so many things that I could have done differently and I would redo going back into that. And I think that's what makes somebody a strong leader, is somebody that evaluates how the situation went down, how it could have been different, something to do differently next time. And like I said, I correlate it really strongly with the mentorship piece and being able to talk to people from other departments. Like Tom, when we were going through the mentorship program, I was bringing some
Yep.
conflicts that I was having. I also regularly talk to Stephen Bentley in North
Mm.
Carolina, Chris Nunes, Tracy Peterson in Minnesota. Jay, I didn't realize that you had a connection to until recently, Hayden Kramer
Yeah.
in Indian Trail. So between my coworkers, my boss, other people from other departments from around the country, I think that's really what shaped me to be and grow into the person that I am today. I
I think the leadership piece is fascinating. We've talked about it plenty of times, but there are some industries that you don't have to worry about being a leader at all. And there's
yeah,
some that we expose you to being a leader pretty early on, and the success and failure of that. I mean, Hannah is now dealing with a lot of leadership stuff that she didn't deal with for 18 years as a
Yeah.
teacher, and that she's actually going back and re-listening to our old episodes of RecLess, working back from the very beginning. Now, not as a spouse of a park and rec professional, but she's done, not as the executive producer of the show, which she obviously listened to and tried to parse out all my ums and uhs, but literally as a leader trying to get better. And she's coming back with me, and things that were mentioned the first time, she kind of glanced over because leadership wasn't the thing she was worried about. And so what Chris Bass was saying about leadership didn't really make a lot of sense. And now she's like, wow, I can't believe that thing Chris said about leadership is exactly what I'm dealing with. And so, different industries have different weights and different capacities and trials and tribulations, but it's tough to be in this industry and not be exposed to having to lead someone, high school or somebody, early on. I think where you just get exposed to leadership and the pitfalls that come with that very quickly in Parks and Rec.
and something that I struggled with early on and am still trying to manage is, managing people that have a lot more life experience than you do, that are, that might be older than you are. I'm
No one's older
23
than
years
me.
old and I'm coming into an assistant director position, you know. Sometimes that doesn't jive with everybody. And I'm very gracious because when I had taken this job that I'm currently in, I'm not feeling any of that. My staff have been here 35 to 40 years in part-time and seasonal roles, which is incredible.
Right.
And I think something that I wanted to do differently this time around, reflecting on the first time that I was put into a situation where I was managing people that were older than me, I looked to them a lot more to give me insight to how our operations worked, bringing them to the table a lot more to make decisions. Something that I think I regrettably didn't do my first time around. So it's always evaluating that piece of it too, is something that I'm still trying to manage, is how to manage people that might be older than you and have a lot more life experience and work experience than you do.
Yeah, it's not even just older too. That's a great example. Obviously, when we've talked to, glad you brought up Chris Bass, but when we talked to Chris Bass, and then I've had some private conversations with Stephen Bentley and we talked a little bit on the episode with Stephen when he went into his position, or when any of us went into our position. Typically, there was a half that we had no clue about.
Mm-hmm.
And if that half was, maybe it was aquatics, you didn't have experience there, or maybe it was parks. There's individuals on our parks team. Yeah, sure, they might be older. Then you have individuals who come into a parks team that might be even younger, but they are there in the day to day, operating the equipment, maintaining the fields. I came from the rec side. Now you got to manage these individuals, and listening is key. Listen to these individuals, take what they have to offer and make the best informed decisions from there. And there's going to be times where you're going to butt heads. That's also a part of the job, is that you have to make tough decisions here and there. So no, Shane, you hit it on the head. That leadership piece it's such a unique part of our job. And on the flip side, with the younger individuals too, there are people who come and work in our summer camp programs, or younger individuals who have been doing work where, like you said, not necessarily even teachers, but yes, some teachers come in and they're not used to that structure. And then we ask them to be a site director. Hey, you're going to be the site director because you're the teacher. You're the one that has the most experience. By the way, you've got to manage 6 or 8, 17, and 19-year-olds. And good luck with that.
You mentioned earlier to some takeaways you get from conferences and program ideas, and I like to kind of look at different organizations' websites when we hop on these podcast episodes and see what you're doing in your agency and what's a trend or what's a common program that might not be common amongst all of our departments. So what's a program that you guys offer in your department that is either super popular or something you're trying out for the first time and curious to see if it takes off?
So there's three that are coming to mind, and that's because one of them was yesterday, and there's two this weekend. So
Oh, nice.
we yesterday, our department hosted a with other town departments as well. It's a really amazing collaboration that I'm very impressed with. It's a passport to health fair, and Tom, you had asked, a recent example of why we're in this profession. That's one of the most recent ones for me. We catered this event to families. We see a lot of seniors that came that prioritized their health, which was incredible to see. And just being at the event and helping out and seeing all of the wonderful things that seniors and families can take advantage of all in one place. We were able to showcase local farms, local businesses, some things that the community may not be exposed to on a daily basis. They drive by and like, oh, I got to check that place out. Yesterday was an opportunity for people to do that. So it was really cool. And then tomorrow, Anna, one of the other rec supervisors, she's running an Easter egg hunt for dogs event. So
Love it.
I think
That's cool.
we don't have an egg hunt for kids in we have a
Screw them kids.
we do have one, but the event that I'm running on Sunday is an egg hunt in the pool. So I think that's another non-traditional event that we
Yeah,
run.
that's fun.
But yeah, those are the three that just jumped to my mind about. I haven't seen another town doing a passport to health fair. I'm sure there are some, but I also haven't seen one that does an Easter egg hunt for dogs. So
That's definitely
cool.
unique.
That's
I've not
really
heard of that
unique,
one
yeah.
yet. So
Love
It
it.
is.
definitely
May
win
have
that
to
game.
steal it. I've seen. We're gonna shift over to rapid fire here, but I've seen recently that there's these people are doing these egg hunts with like these egg guns. And so they put all the eggs in there and they just shoot them all over the place. You can do them at night. They can be glow in the dark, whatever. I can imagine dogs might really like that, where
Oh, wow.
you're shooting it like kind of like a tennis ball, if that's their thing. But I love that idea. I'd love to pick your brain more about it. But let's get
Yep.
into some rapid fire. We want to ask you some quick hitters, get a little bit more information out of you, let our listeners learn a little bit about Geordie. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a layup for all of our golfers out there. What
Oh, a
is, I would say for Geordie anyway, this is an easy one. What's your go-to course? And I don't want to know locally. I'm saying if you either that you've played or that you want to play.
Oh, that is a really good question. My course of choice, we have a municipal course that our department leases out, that I play at very frequently. I'm usually there. My dream course, I'm such a big fan of the Masters. I love that event. I have a flag that's on my wall. I've never been to the Masters,
Sure.
but I have a flag I have two golf flags on my wall, one for the PGA Championship, that was in Atlanta, and then I also have one from the 18th tee, from the Masters, which I won in a raffle, which was awesome. But I would love to just see. I don't even have to play
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to play there, but Augusta National, it's beautiful on TV. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful course.
Yeah, I love that selection, and I'm sure that's common for everybody. When you watch the Masters, clearly they hold it at the same time every year. It's when spring is budding. It is gorgeous,
Hmm.
and I've had the opportunity to explore just a very small portion of Georgia, but Georgia has some really great southern roots and beautiful places. The landscape, the trees. Yeah, it looks beautiful. I bet it's very surreal to be standing in Augusta and just taking it all in.
And the weight of the greatest players of all time, that's where they are getting their green jackets. That's where they're getting, could be their start, or it could be like Rory McIlroy last year getting their grand
Yeah.
slam.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history that went down there, that goes down there, which I would just love to just be taking it all in, like you said.
Cool. Well, hey, I'm gonna take a former question we've asked and put a twist on it in the golf theme. So if you could pick any foursome to go out and golf
Ooh.
with,
Mm.
pick your three golf partners to go out and hit around this weekend, and they can be professional golfers or they can be park and rec people. You have to stick within those two themes. So who are you picking to join you on a foursome?
Can we maybe do a two-part question? We want your park and rec foursome and your golfer foursome.
Okay, we can do that. That makes sense.
All right, well, this is going to sound like a cop-out answer, but I think the four of us, I would absolutely love to pick your guys' brains a lot more. And I think it would just hearing your personalities and hearing the way that you guys talk, I think that would be a really fun, really fun
It
time.
might end the friendship if these guys
Yeah,
play golf with me
yeah.
for 4 hours.
There would be a lot of
You
junk talking for sure.
you guys could walk, Jay and Geordie. Shane and I are gonna take a
That's
cart.
right. That's right.
That works. I
So
don't
that
know
might
that.
be a
Well, Shane's
cop-out
going to need a
answer,
cart
but
to find his ball that's going to go every which way
Oh, I would
direction.
abuse the Masters. Just abuse
Yeah.
the. Actually, the greens would be.
Oh, they would.
I'd be in the roughs every time.
What
We
would
would
the over
we would
under
be golfing at the municipal golf course. They
That's
wouldn't let
fine.
you into Augusta.
That's fine.
yeah.
Well, I know. Do you own a collared shirt to wear on the? Because you need to
I
wear a
do.
collared
I
shirt.
have a
He
collared
does.
shirt.
He wears
I mean,
Robux.
What's
That's right.
what's the over under on how many balls Shane would lose? 20?
Yeah, one a hole at least.
If we played
Okay,
at the
so
course that I play at, there's a lot of woods, so
there you
it could
go.
be higher.
Okay, so what about your professional side? Who do you want to pick with a foursome if you could have any golfers ever of all time?
That is, I gotta go with Scotty Scheffler because I think that that's somebody who's face value. Like what I feel like what you see on TV is what he is like. Just seems like a really down to earth guy, the best player that's on the planet right now. I think that he would be definitely my number one pick. Tiger Woods would definitely be my second pick for sure. Being able to go out with one of the greatest of all, if not the greatest of all time. And that the third person, that's a really good one. I really do like Rory McIlroy, and I think that what he did last year, getting his Grand Slam, was just absolutely incredible to
Yeah.
witness. It's a moment that will not, a sporting moment I will never forget. There's a lot of historic moments that you're like, I know where I was for that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one that I'll be like, oh yeah, I know where I was or what I was doing when he got that. So I think those would be the other three players that I would love to go out. I would be the absolute worst one. They'd probably hate it, but those would be the three.
Cool.
Okay.
Wait, Jordy, I'm gonna have to bounce out of here, but this was awesome. I'll let the rest of the gang here close it out and just thank you for the time that I was able to be on here with you and look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, you too, Jay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
See you,
Hey Jay,
Jay.
why don't you get the hell out of here?
Hey, maybe we'll plan to play in a golf tournament at NRPA sometime.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
Yeah. They
I'm
do it
in.
every year.
So my round robin question, you said you've done a lot of interviews. We have gotten, not only have Tom and I done interviews over our 20 plus career, whatever, in this industry, but doing a podcast, you get to ask a lot of interview questions. What question do you ask that really cuts to the core quickly of the person you're talking to? How do you get that out of them?
That's a really good question. I
And
think
I'd love to know Tom's too. Like your favorite interview question to ask people. And I'll give you mine. That gives you time. I think I've asked it on this podcast too, but mine is, I think everyone's got a master class in them. So what is yours?
It's a good one.
And you really get to know what they think they do really well, which is fascinating. And that's great in an interview. It's great in a podcast interview. Hell, it's great on a Friday night at a bar. Like you just get to know pretty quickly who that person, not only who they are, but what they think they do really well. And usually when someone does something really well, there's passion behind it. So then you get to find out their passions about it or whatever. I've always
That's
liked
good.
that question.
That's a great question. I would love to start asking that. We just got through a round of interviews for a position. We've been asking this question for a while. This is easily one of my favorites. So you know how my mind works, especially you, Shane. It's very
Tom found his wife
experienced.
in an interview panel, by the way.
I
So this
did.
could be
I
really scary.
did. I did. We weren't asking that deep
Was
of
it Will You Marry
questions
Me? Is that your
at that
favorite
point. It
question?
was. It was. It was. She has a nice dress. I will ask her to marry me later. So you know that my mind works. I'm experience driven. Everything I do when
Disney,
I'm
Disney,
thinking
Disney.
about, yeah, well, Disney and just even here, right? And all those principles that we could take to our day to day and how could we make someone's day? We ask a lot of questions, or at least a part of any position, we talk about the service experience. And so, okay, a pretty basic question is what is great customer service to you? Okay.
Hmm.
We flip that question around and we ask a question of, I want you to think about a time that you were delivered exceptional customer service. Tell us about that experience. That question and the answers that you get, it sets people apart. You get a lot of individuals who struggle, and to me, that tells me, and I'm not going to rule someone out just because they didn't give me a great answer, but
Right.
that tells me they're not thinking that way. They're not thinking about experience because it happens every day. There is no way that you have not experienced exceptional customer service. I don't care if you're not going to Disney. You're getting
Right.
it somewhere. You're getting it at Chick-fil-A. You're getting it. Someone is just, they love their job, whether
And if
it's
you're
a
overlooking
barista.
exceptional or poor
Correct.
customer service, it's a
Yes.
very likely that you're overlooking it in your service that you provide.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's a great question that we've had that's added a lot of value for us to learn a little bit about individuals is can they pull what it means to actually feel it when it's given to them?
Love that.
those are great questions, and I love that the master class. I wrote them both down. I mean, those are great. I might have to steal them, but um, there's two that pop into my head. One, I already talked about one of them. Why do you want to work for our department? Is I think really what drags and that's I usually wait till the end for that one. Um, I've noticed that one separates people, in terms of why they're looking to get into sometimes their working life or jumping to our department or whatnot. But an interview question that I will never forget being asked, and I always reflect on, is please describe yourself in one word. I think it was a really difficult question for me to answer.
Mm.
It was the position that I held in East Longmeadow actually that had asked me that question during my interview. And I love asking it because it stumps you.
Yeah.
It stumped me when I was asked the question. It kind of made me freeze a little bit like, all right, there's so many different how do I want to portray myself to this panel? Um, I love asking it, and I get the same reaction almost every single time out of people. Um,
I've
kind
asked
of
a
a similar
version of that.
reaction.
I've asked a version of that. And what I like to ask is if I talk to your boss, how would they describe you
Yeah,
in one word or less? And would you agree with it?
I like that.
Because now you get to hear, because I don't think people understand you get to you get to decide what your word is. You know what I mean? Like if I ask all my staff to describe Shane one word or less and they all say an asshole or grumpy or, you know, aloof or whatever, that could be accurate. I also have all the power in the world to change that. I could actually show up differently for them. You know what I mean? And so asking someone what their boss would say about them and then do you agree with it says, how do you think you're perceived and are you doing anything about it? You know what I mean?
I completely agree. I think that's a really creative way to ask that question. And, they'll usually give their word and go into why they feel
Yeah.
that is the word, that word describes them the best. I haven't asked it in a little while, but I definitely like to get that reaction out of people.
I could probably do a whole podcast on this, Tom, because
Yeah.
another one I ask is at the end, all my staff knows it's my bonus question. No matter what my questions are, and I'll have 10 or 12, and 8 of them will be a little bit more soft skills or some sort of fit related, and then 3 or 4 of them are just fun, off the wall. I kind of want to throw them off and see how they do. A lot of them are non-scoring, but I want to ask. But I always say I have a home run question for you, and even then, it comes with me being able to evaluate you. But I say, I have a home run question for you. And I say, in the process of this interview, preparing for it, you looked at our website, you looked at Parks Commission, you read articles, whatever. You did some research. And today, we didn't ask you something that you were preparing for. So, what was that question? And then give us the answer you prepared for. So, it's basically a home run, right? Like, and you'll be surprised how many people admit at that moment they didn't prepare for that interview.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They didn't do any research.
Actually, no,
And so,
I didn't have any questions. That,
yeah. And I'm like,
right.
okay, this person didn't research us at all. And I just gave you a chance to get a home run on one of these questions that you could just knock this one out of the park. I was expecting you to ask me about Trail Capital of Texas, and here's my prepared answer. Boom, home run. It's one you actually got to say exactly what you were preparing for, and people will say exactly what Tom said. That happens all the time. Actually, I don't have any questions. You covered them all. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sometimes replaces the why am I the best candidate? Because I never asked that. So then a lot of people will say, well, I expected you to ask why I'm the best candidate. And that's their opportunity to say it. And it's kind of the same thing. And it also kind of allows me to evaluate how boring they are that they're expecting me to ask the most boring question in the history of all time. But like, at least they have something. Some people be like, yeah, you covered it all or whatever. I'm like, there's no way, drives me insane.
You know what? Before I get to one more rapid question, I thought of something that'd be really interesting because when you were talking about the one word piece, I was like, geez, maybe we did that in an episode. I think it was at the end of the recap or at the end of another episode, we asked, how would you describe this experience in one word?
Yeah.
And I think that you and I and Jay did really, really well. It was a really nice moment. I enjoyed listening to yours and thinking about it from my perspective. Then I think about it. What if we flipped it on someone and said, describe me in one word?
Describe this episode in one word. Bullshit. That's one word, right?
All right, Geordie, we wouldn't have a RecLess episode if we didn't talk food.
That's right.
Connecticut.
Contractually, we're obligated.
We are. Connecticut, you could get to one side to the other in a couple hours. I'm assuming that you've traveled a little bit across the state for food. Shane and I have not. Give us a trio. Where are you taking us in a day in Connecticut for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, yeah, that is a really good question. New Haven pizza, I've heard, is delicious.
That's what I hear too. It's supposed to be the best.
Is this a Dave Portnoy?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like burnt pizza.
This is my Dave pitch here. New Haven has some incredible pizza. There's definitely some good places down in New Haven. There's one in Middletown, Central Connecticut.
Really?
It's called Mondo's, which I think has incredible pizza. So I don't know if that would classify lunch or dinner or but
Could be breakfast. Pizza's been breakfast.
Yeah,
we're on a pizza tour. Okay. I'm good with that.
There was a diner that I went to very frequently growing up, and it was kind of down the road from my parents' house. It's called Olympia Diner, and you get this whole vibe when you walk in. It's very rustic, not in a bad way at all, but it's just a different atmosphere. And they actually were going to close last year, which broke my heart because I loved going there as a kid. Still went there as an adult. Loved going there for breakfast. Would go there before I went to school sometimes. There was so much backlash. They stayed open. They did not end up closing. I don't know if they're waiting for somebody to buy it out or what, but the restaurant is still there today, and it's incredible, and still frequent it, and it's a great diner. I'm also a fan of Thai food, which there's a lot of good places for Thai food in Connecticut. I
Really?
also love sushi.
Really? Thai, like that, it's just a huge population of Thai folks
Not,
there. I don't know the breakdown of Connecticut, but I don't
yeah,
know if I would have thought Connecticut was the leading Thai food
no, I don't
importer.
think it is, but maybe that's why I think it's really good.
Yeah. There's nothing better around.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I also love sushi, and I think that there's really good sushi places. But I would probably say, I would say pizza for lunch, and then going down to the Connecticut shoreline for dinner and
Okay.
getting seafood at the Connecticut shoreline.
That
Another
sounds
place
good.
that I went to very frequently growing up, Lenny and Joe's is at the shorelines, right on the water. Really incredible seafood that they have there. There's another restaurant, Bill's Seafood, that's on the shoreline, also right on the water. Incredible, really nice views, awesome atmosphere, delicious food. Lenny and Joe's has, and I loved this as a kid, they have a carousel that you would be waiting in line for. I'm sure my parents hated it, but you'd be waiting in line forever trying to get on it. And you're riding around the carousel and you're trying to pull these rings out of a slot. And hidden in those slots, or in those piles of rings, is a golden ring. And so the person that got the golden ring, I can't remember what the prize was. I don't remember if it was they didn't have a gift shop or anything,
It's
but they
probably like
got
Monopoly. No one ever actually won.
yeah, probably. I never did, so I think that's true for how much we were there. But yeah, I think that would be the trio. Olympic
Okay.
Diner for breakfast, Mondo's for lunch, and I would say Lenny and Joe's
Okay. That
for
sounds
dinner.
good.
I love it. All right, Jordy, my last question. Do you have questions for us?
At what point did you guys get the idea to start a podcast? I've talked to Tom after, even at, our mentorship. I've been talking to Tom after our mentorship technically ended through the academy. But I was always
And he
curious.
didn't charge you to keep talking to him?
No.
That's very generous of him.
Yeah, I charge
About
you.
100 an hour.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
I know why you guys ultimately did, get this going, but I'm curious when this popped up. Was it a national conference? Was it just, texting back and forth? Something that I've been curious about.
So I'm a wanderer, and Smartless, which is kind of where we built the back of this podcast off of, or the concept of this podcast off of, had just done a thing with HBO where they followed the podcast from Smartless for 5 or 6 episodes as they did a national tour. And I had been a Smartless fan, and I think Tom had also listened to Smartless before our podcast. Like, I think both of us had talked about Smartless at
Yeah,
one
we had
time.
talked about it, and then now I listen to it every time I have a 30-minute commute. I'll get an episode in two.
But it was so much more clear observing that documentary that the relationship those three actors had is very similar to the relationship Tom and Jay and I have. And I was just like, wow, that they actually get along, and they banter and pick on each other, and they have this really cool relationship. And those three almost are the sum greater than one, and through the three, they're exposed to a lot of different networks, and they have a lot of different actors, friends that they can bring on. And you get this really incredible podcast because so many people come on. And it was just one of those things where I thought, yeah, I think we could do the same thing in Parks and Rec. Like my network is what it is, and so is Tom's what it is, and so is Jay's what it is. But combined, it's incredible, and we get along well, and we enjoy seeing and talking to each other. And why not expand our network and get a chance to interact with each other more than just our texts throughout the year, and then once a year at conference. And so that was kind of the genesis behind it at the time. And I mean, Tom and Jay were bought in really quick. I didn't think they would buy in, or I thought it'd take more convincing, but that was kind of good as well because I was like, boy, I'm fixing to pitch this. I don't know if they'll even think it's good or not, but they were both all in pretty quick, and there's no way, and Tom can speak to this. There's no way we thought it would be what it is. Like we just thought we would get to talk more in a mental health break and maybe have some cool conversations, and I don't know, 15 to 50 people would listen to it. We have, I mean, downloads wise, I think we have over 40 or 50,000 downloads, and we've had so many different, I mean, we're averaging over 500 or 600, I think, listens an episode. And there's no way that we thought that would happen from this stupid little podcast.
No, good question. And I'd only add to that, I don't know how much time Shane put into the pitch, the proposal. But what I know is that he told us that he had an idea, and then he didn't tell us what the idea was. And then it was 2 weeks later that we got together on a call to talk about it. So for me, I had no idea what was coming down the pike. I don't know if that was Shane's anxiety where he's like, man, I don't know how I'm going to pitch this, or if that's just who he is. And he just, will text you randomly sometimes and he'll be like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. So he made us wait for this idea, and we were pretty patient. I don't think anybody pestered Shane. But yes, we both bought in pretty quickly. And I think part of that is because in the grand scheme of things, when we do anything that we do, the real heavy lift is getting it off the ground. So a part of me said, yeah, this sounds great in theory, but will we ever find the time to get it off the ground? Yeah. And then we did, you know what I mean? And once it got off the ground, we were up and running. But that was a part of my decision process. I was like, well, there's no harm in saying, yes, I'm interested in this. When are we going to actually put rubber to the road, though? And once we did, I mean, we really didn't look back.
And what's funny is it's muscle memory in some ways now, but it's also, Geordie, you heard all of us hop on talking to each other today. Like when we don't have it for a couple of weeks, we miss it generally. Talking to each other, busting on each other's chops, getting to talk to a new guest, getting excited that, okay, who's going to be on? What are they going to talk about? Where is this conversation going to go? As you know, we don't script anything. So no one knew today what was going to happen or who was going to, well, one person knew who was going to come on, but not even Tom knew the questions we were going to ask. And so, yeah, it's one of these really cool things that I've been very fortunate to be a part of.
And I think that you guys are giving so many professionals a platform to voice their story, and everybody has their individual story of how they got into this field and how they, what positions they're in. And it's just incredible to hear all of those stories from everyone. I think you guys are doing a really good job at that.
Well, thank you. And that's a good segue to thank you for sharing your story and for your time today. I can't wait for our listeners to get a chance to hear everything you had to talk about. And we just appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining, Geordie. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you for a while now.
Thank you guys very much. Congratulations on 105 episodes. That's amazing. And thank you for, giving me the opportunity to tell my story. It's been a good time and I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. Jay, do you want to say anything? No? Okay, well. Okay,
he's a bit prickly right now.
Yeah. Jay, just speak up. Jay, if you thought Geordie did a good job, just go ahead and say something nice here at the end.
Wow. Oh gosh, he's never gonna miss an episode at this point.
I know.
No,
after listening to this,
trust us to leave early.
All right, Geordie, have a good one. Have a good weekend.
You as well, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Jay's As you were asking that, I was like, we could have him
Yeah,
voice
dude, his part
over.
right there. Maybe we'll see.
Oh gosh,
Or
Jordy's
I
a
could
good
do.
dude, man.
Yeah, no, Geordie's great.
He's a good guy. He's got a great mindset. And yes, I know we talked about this, but when there's people who they just they want to be a part of it
Yep.
and they want to continue to grow, they want to continue to learn. And anybody who's willing to invest in themselves is I think it's impressive, right? Because so many people are guarded, whether it's financially or even a pride thing. My agency won't send me.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm
So
telling
I
you,
give them a lot of credit.
we've said this before. Our industry is in such good hands, and it's almost embarrassing to me that I ever thought like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like in the next couple of years. I just didn't know the people that were coming in and filling all these spaces. Like it's got some of the best people, and Geordie's right there with them. What super accomplished. I mean, everything. He's accomplished so much already. A young assistant director now, it sounds like doing everything he's doing, and so and he's got the right mindset, the right temperament for it.
Yep.
He's committed to it, learning on the job, and even learning from any mistakes, like you talked about. We're fortunate to have people like him.
Yeah, yeah, and we didn't talk too much about it, but I did say how we could relate to it with our work with the YPN, what he's done in taking that model and other models and put that into Connecticut where it didn't exist. I know we've talked about this a little before, Biedenstein, other individuals, but it's so important to give the younger individuals in our field a voice, a platform, a place to feel heard and welcomed, and anybody who's doing that is obviously has a lot more on their mind than their own personal growth.
Yeah, because it's really hard to do something like that and you
Oh
be the
yeah.
person that benefits from it. In fact, it's like planting a tree someone else will benefit from years down the line. Like
Oh yeah.
it's literally the concept.
And Shane, we didn't talk about this today, but I remember when Geordie was getting these off the ground, we were in the middle of our regular calls. Now we still stay in touch, but during that time we were talking about these on a monthly basis, and he told me some stories and I wish we kind of got into, but you can ask him about it someday. It sounded very similar to your
Yeah.
experiences when you were working with YPN with the NRPA. He got a lot of pushback, a lot of
Lots.
fight, and he pushed through it.
Yeah. In fact, when you start something like that, there's a strong chance you'll be the only person that doesn't benefit from it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see that he have pushed through and so many people benefit from the work he did. So
It was good to talk to you, Jay. Also, thanks a lot for hanging out with us.
Jay, you good? You got any? Hey, Jay, just go ahead and give
Jay,
us some sort of wise words to close out with.
maybe a nod.
Hello? Is this thing on?
All right, good stuff.
See
We will
ya.
see you all next time on RecLess. We'll see Jay next time on RecLess too.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, that's funny.
Here at RecLess, we love to give back to the community that we're so passionate about. We do that by providing scholarships to professionals to attend conferences they may not otherwise be able to attend. That's where you come in, sponsorships. If you are interested in a sponsorship, we'd love to connect with you. So this spot could be yours. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.